Welcome back, everyone, to this edition of Dale's Rails, where this is the second part in a series I'm doing on the Postwar, Lionel, and Marx steam engines. And this week we have up is a couple of engines here that had unique features at the time for Marx up here on the upper level. And the engine close to us is the model of a 1666 Santa Fe. This is the gray version. What was unique about this engine, it came out with the Marx Sound of Power. And that was introduced in 1969, which actually beat Lionel by a couple of years before they came out with their Sound of Steam in 1971. So I'll be demonstrating that, let you guys be the judge of it. I'm pretty impressed with the what Marx came up with to produce that. In fact, I think it sounds better than the Sound of Steam. And it's not quite as elaborate as the Sound of Steam. It's, it's not as technical, but I think it sounds better in a lot of ways. So it's just my personal opinion. I hope I'm not being biased on that. It's just my opinion. And then the other model here you see, of course, I did the last week on the 666 there die cast. Now this one, I did a motor swap on it. I took out the double reduction motor of this engine and swapped it out with the Marx steam chest cylinder smoke, which came out in 1955. And this was only produced really on the plastic 1666s. It's not believed that the 666s were equipped with this. Now, there again, you can't say never or not at all, but the consensus is if you find a die-cast 666, because the motors in the 666 and the 1666 will swap out, even with the steam chest cylinder smoke. So, we'll get a good look at this. I've got another 1666 over here. It's not functioning right now, but this is a 1666. You can see the smoke unit here is much different looking. You'll see these two ports on each side. So the smoke is going to come out this on each side and then out the stack also. So that's the steam chest cylinder smoke, what it looks like from underneath. And the Sound of Power, and that's sound, the letter O, power, Sound O Power. It's take a look at it here. So, this is the way I bought this. It came with the Lionel style truck. Somebody changed it out. But you can see this little wheel on here. It just rotates and travels on the track. And that gap in there, it just makes a white noise sound. Circuit board in here with a speaker. And, this rotates around and it makes a chuffing sound. And it's actually pretty decent. It sounds better than a lot of newer engines. So Marx did a pretty good job of that at the time, I think. And so there's what that looks like if you're looking for one of these. They're not all that common. Also, the steam chest smoke is not all that common. And this motor unit is a lot more robust, better built than the one I just showed you in the 1666. It's got, I mean, the 1666 with the other steam chest cylinder smoke feature on it, it has like a plastic piston in there that drives in and out, where this is all metal. So this is just a lot better unit. You know, I got lucky when I purchased those motors. I was able to find just some motors. There was like, I was kind of surprised. There was 3 double reduction motors like you'd have in a 1666 or the 666 there. And then they had that one steam chest cylinder smoke unit. And I was able to pick those up on a bid of $60. I was surprised somebody didn't outbid me on that. And I don't even recall that I had any competition when I picked those up. So, and all those motors are, you know, excellent, close to like new condition. So I was really surprised. So you never know what you're going to run into. It's been several years ago since I ran across that. Same thing with this Marx engine here. I don't think the person who was selling this realized it had the sound of power tender with it like that, and realized what they had. I mean, they were just selling it as a Marx 1666, and I picked that engine and tender up for like $35. So you know, you never know what you're going to run into. And you know, I did swap the motor out of this because, you know, you know how we are, we can't be happy with stuff. And I was trying to improve smoke output. So I damaged the nichrome wire down in the smoke unit of that one, and swapped this motor out for this demonstration just so I could run the gray engine with the tender like it came. And, you know, the original, you know, these plastic engines, as you can imagine, are really light. So the original double reduction motor for this came with a traction tire, which really does a good job, even on this light engine, of pulling quite a few cars. So we'll see here today how much it struggles just trying to pull this little consist here. You can see this is all equipped with Marx cars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll see if it can pull 7 cars here. Like I said, it doesn't have the correct motor unit in there, and this engine is pretty light. It's not as heavy as the die-cast version here, of course. So we'll see how well it does. You know, with the Lionel coupler on there, I do have this is an idler car. It's the only one I have. I thought I had another one. It's good to have 2 of these if you have Marx and Lionel, just so you can go back and forth between Marx and Lionel cars if you want to do that. So this is enabling me to use this tender, even though this is a Marx tender. It's had, like I said, the truck replaced on it with a knuckle type style coupler. Now, this is an actual Lionel tender with a knuckle on it. So I'm just using it for this purpose today. I've got to consist of passenger cars on here. You know, these little 666s, those passenger cars are not that light. They're not really something that was designed to run with the Marx models, of course. And but you know, I probably really need some more weight. I wanted to be able to make sure I could get the engine to smoke really well, because these cylinder smoke engines, simply because they're pushing smoke out, it may be kind of hard to pick that up on camera. And so I'm trying to make sure without the engine struggling or stalling to get the heating element up enough so we can see the steam chest feature on this. So starting out today, I think I'm going to start out with the Santa Fe 1666. We'll check this feature out on this engine. I think that did a pretty good job. And, one thing that Marx never did produce was a whistle style tender or bell or anything. So what they had instead is try it out here. They had the Girard station there. Now that station I got there's two versions, one lighted and one non-lighted, but they both are whistle stations. The Girard stations that you see like that, the red brick building, are the whistle stations. So to do a whistle on your Marx engines, you just had to have your Girard stations, and it sufficed as a whistle for all of them. And they did make I believe it's a Glendale brick building, yellow brick building, that has the diesel horn sound in it. So if you run across one of those, the Girard station there has a whistle in it, and the Glendale building has the diesel horn sound. Okay, next up here we've got the Marx 666 with the steam chest cylinder smoke. We'll see how she does. Oh yeah. Not having any trouble at all pulling that little consist. The 666s are really good pullers. I mean, that doesn't even have a traction tire. No bigger than that engine is, so it's. Hopefully we can get a good video of the steam chest smoke on it. It's a little bit tough to see on camera. It's easy to see while you're in person. That is a really smooth running motor in this particular engine too. So maybe I can get, if it can get slow enough here, we can get a little better look. You guys can see that puffing. We'll just do a little hopefully that's showing up. Okay, next up here we got the twins. We have the 2055, 2065. They're really identical except for the boiler fronts. They call them a Santa Fe style Hudson. I always thought these were ones that were referred to as a baby Hudson, but there's those that call the 2046 a baby Hudson. It's a little bit bigger because it has a boiler shell of a 736. So these are a little bit smaller. If you want a good model engine, a good pulling engine. I mean, these are equipped with magnet traction. The post-war versions are. I do have a version here from this is the first of the, what they consider the quality models of the MPC era. So this is the 8206. Now this one has Baldwin disc drivers on it. But it has a traction tire. This doesn't have magnet traction. This is a good pulling engine. This engine, in my opinion, is built exactly to the post-war era standards. So you don't have to be too shy of getting this engine either. You can see how easy this engine would be to work on here. You've got 2 screws here. I'm missing one here, it looks like. 2 screws here. 2 screws back here on each side. This whole motor assembly comes out because your your eccentric crank and valve gear are not attached to the boiler shell. So this is really just a two-piece unit. In fact, the headlight is mounted to your motor assembly. So when you pull this out, the shell comes off separate from this. These are very easy to work on and service. If you want one that's easy to work on and service, this is that model, just because there's not a whole lot of valve gear, connecting rods and stuff you got to take off to get access to the motor. And same thing, I mean, it has the post-war style smoke unit in it. This engine is, or both of these engines, came in both a O and 027 model. Your O version of these would be on the 2065, there would be the 665. I know that says 8,900 on that cab there, but that isn't correct. Somebody's obviously modified that. This is the way I bought this engine. The 2055 there, the O version of it is 685. So these are two, apparently, not known for sure on the 8,900 there, if that's a 665 or originally, or if it was a 2065. It doesn't matter. They're identical. You couldn't tell them the difference anyway. But just to give you a little bit of information on the on each of these models here, they're both a Hudson type. Like I said, based on a Santa Fe prototype. The 2065 665 has that distinctive Elsco feed water heater on the front of the boiler there. It's equipped with magnet traction, a smoke unit, an E unit, and a complete set of valve gear. There are 3 variations, all with the whistle tenders. Variation A, white rubber stamped number on boiler with the 6026W or a 2046W tender with bar end trucks without a tab coupler, 1954 version. Variation B, white heat stamp number on boiler with 6026W or 2046W streamline tender as seen there on the 2055 that have the bar end trucks without tab coupler, 1955 version. Variation C is white heat stamp number on boiler with 6026 square cold tender with bar end trucks and tab coupler. That would be 1956. The 2065 engine shares the same trailing truck with that plastic side frame as the 2055. So they're identical in that regard too. Now the 2055 version, 685, it's considered a Santa Fe prototype, equipped with magnet traction, smoke unit, E unit, and a complete set of valve gear. There are 2 variations, both with whistle tenders. Variation A, rubber stamp number on boiler with a 6026W or 2046W tender with bar end trucks with magnetic coupler. That's 1953. That's the only year for the 685, apparently. I didn't know that. Variation B, heat stamp number on the boiler sides with 20 or 6026W tender with bar and trucks with magnet traction. That'd be 1954-55. Now, this tender I have here on the 8900, which is actually the 2065, is kind of a unique tender in the fact that I believe this is 671 W tender. This tender really should have went with the S2 turbine. 671. So I don't know if there's as many of these out there. If you notice, the other tender I showed you in the previous video, which is like the one over there on the inner city loop, a little hard to see from here. It not only had the wire handrails up here, but this has wire handrails here and wire handrails there. So this tender is a little bit different. If you're interested in finding that tender, just because it has a little bit more detail to it, that's the 671W. And Lionel used whistle tenders with these, which is a little bit different than what we just seen with the Marx unit, whereas your building has your whistle in it. We can fire these up and maybe we can hear the tenders in these. That's your 671's square tender. Here's our streamline tender over here. That one's got a little bit more of a coffee grinder sound to it. Sometimes that happens, even though both of these tenders have been serviced. I'm not really sure what causes that sound, why they make that. Maybe, I don't know. Some of these tenders, that sound's not quite as noticeable, and sometimes it is. So before we get these running, I think we'll do the 2035 there. Last week, you recall, I had the 2025. Well, this is the engine, the post-war version after 1950. In fact, these were only produced, I believe, 2 years, 1950, 1951, 2035. So this would be what replaced the 2025. Get over here and get a closer look. Okay, here's the 2035. It's a model of the Pennsy K4 Pacific, only with a 2/6/4 wheel arrangement, making it an Adriatic. It was produced, like I said, 1950 and 51 only. It came with magnet traction, a 3-position direction unit, with a lever behind the smokestack right there. That's your lockout. It has the spoke drivers as opposed to the Baldwin disc like on the 2025. And it came with the 6466W early tender, which is this particular tender with the handrails on it here. Same tender I used in the previous video with these. And this is, these do have an aluminum motor frame. Your engines with magnet traction, your post-war engines that had magnet traction, they had aluminum motor sides just because, they had magnet traction. So you couldn't use any type of magnetic metal. I don't know if anybody's out there else is aware of that, but that's one thing to be kind of careful of. That's why those motor frames can bend much easier. You know, if you're doing stuff like, it's a problem, you know, if you go to change your, pull your wheels, if you're going to do something like that. Otherwise, it's probably not a problem. But this did have heat stamped cab numbers with the Keystone Boiler 5690 decal. There's 2 variations of these. Variation A, it has a half moon shaped eccentric crank. So when you pull this eccentric crank off, what they're talking about in here, it's got a half moon shaped fitting. It has sprung center rail pickups, 1950 version. Variation B, 2 projecting pins that are, or this is bolted to on the other side here. There's two projecting pins that hold the eccentric crank in place. And the motor armature has cover plates, which I didn't realize that. Don't know what they're really talking about there. Motor armature, I'd have to look at the other side there, what they're talking about on that. The center rail electrical pickup rollers have solid fixed axles. So that'd be 1951. An easy way to tell on these, if you got a 1950-51, really pulling this eccentric crank off. And I believe this one here, well, it's hard to say. I've got several of these, so I don't really know which version this is. But seems like the ones I have that half moon, what they're talking about in there, which that would make it the early version, 1950 version. So I think we'll get these running now. And we can see how this does on the switches. One of the things to look at on these, I want to show you here. This engine's kind of sitting up now, but we'll get her where it teeters back down. You can see how the center rail on this 3-rail track is higher than the outer 2 rails to begin with. I don't know if you guys realize that, but just because of this insulator in here. So our center rail comes up a little bit. So one of the things on these, very, very minimal tolerance clearance on this pilot with that center rail. So that can make these be somewhat problematic to run through switches, I've found. Unless everything's perfectly flat. Another thing that these don't like is probably grade for that reason. Unless you have the grade just absolutely as gradual as possible. Last thing you want is a grade with a turnout somewhere. You're just kind of asking for problems. So we'll get this guy running, see how she does through these turnouts. So far, so good. Check this whistle out. That's a good whistle. Next time to get her going through the dog bone here. See how she does through these turnouts. Doing pretty good. I think we can let her run on her own now. See how she gets through that next turnout. Okay, I think she's doing fine. Okay, I think we can get the rest of them going. Well, what do you guys think? I think they performed pretty well, and I'm pretty pleased with how they did. And, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And until next time, you're watching Dale's Rails, and thanks for watching.